It's being recorded and will be available via the Council's website to be viewed as soon as possible following the meeting. And the agenda pack can also be viewed on the Council's website. Everyone participating in this meeting will be attending either in the Council chamber or from remote locations. I think we have everybody in attendance here in the chamber. Members attending remotely must keep the cameras on for the duration of the meeting. However, all attendees should keep the microphones off until invited to speak. So members and officers can indicate they want to speak by pressing the hands up icon. So we'll now proceed to the agenda business. And the first item, apologies for absence.
Thank you very much, Leader. Claire Marchant, Corporate Director of Social Services and Wellbeing. I've got another commitment which I need to be at 3:30, so I shall leave the meeting at around 3 p.m.
Thank you, Claire, for that. Deputy Leader.
Thank you very much, Leader. I'm really sorry I need to leave at 4:45. I have other council business I need to attend later on this evening. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Leader. No further apologies. No. Councillor Paul Davis. Right. Item 2 then, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest for any members or officers? Councillor Paul Davis.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I got prejudicial interest in item 11, Chair, and I should be leaving the room while it's debated. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Davis. Any further declarations? No. Okay. Item 3 then, the approval of the minutes from the meeting of the 23rd of September 25.
Happy to move, Leader.
Thank you, Deputy Leader. It's been moved. Seconded. All in favour? Yep. Okay, thank you. Right, taking us then to the first report today on the agenda is item 4, corporate safeguarding policy review. I think that's over to our Deputy Leader.
Thank you very much, Leader. Cabinet colleagues, I'm pleased to present, excuse me just a minute, we've got a technical issue in the chambers. It's okay. I'm pleased to present for your approval the revised corporate safeguarding policy for Bridgend County Borough Council. This policy sets out how, as a council, we meet our statutory responsibilities to safeguard children and adults at risk, in line with Social Services and Wellbeing Wales Act 2014. It provides a clear framework that applies to every service area and directorate across the council, ensuring that safeguarding is everyone's responsibility, not just that of frontline services. Following a recent internal audit of our corporate safeguarding arrangements, this updated policy strengthens 2 key areas. First, it introduces clear training requirements, including refresher training every 3 years, to ensure staff remain confident and competent in their safeguarding duties. And secondly, it includes a new safeguarding protocol for contractors to ensure that those working with or on behalf of the council understand and fulfil their safeguarding responsibilities. These changes reflect a proactive, preventative approach, aiming not just to respond to risk, but to prevent harm before it occurs. They also support a culture of continuous improvement, accountability, and high standards across the organisation. There are no negative equality, financial, or climate implications from this update, but there is a clear positive impact, stronger assurance, safer practice, and greater protection for those most vulnerable in our communities. I therefore recommend that Cabinet formally approve the revised corporate safeguarding policy as set out in the report. Thank you very much, Leader. I move.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Leader. It's pleasing to note in there the item with contractors, and that covers whether that's students, volunteers, temporary employees, subcontractors, agencies, consultants, is anybody that comes in sort of contact, work on behalf or with the council are covered and expected to adhere. So it's very positive and welcome that report. Anybody, any further comments? Councillor Melanie Evans.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And firstly, I'm happy to second the report, and thank you for the report. It was very succinct, and I enjoyed listening to it. Firstly, whilst I appreciate these questions may have been asked, however, just out of professional curiosity, can you actually confirm that staff are completing, so everyone is completing their training relevant to their role? As I am aware, obviously, like you've mentioned in the report, that it needs a refresher every 3 years. And how are we monitoring this, please? Although I do recognise in the self-assessment at item 7 of this report that our staff have completed their the percentage of staff completing their safeguarding training relevant to the role is 85.77%, which is going in the right direction, as it is an increase on 3.07% compared to last year. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Evans. Claire, can you give us some feedback?
Thank you very much for the question, Councillor Evans. I can confirm that we monitor very closely staff completion of the mandatory safeguarding training. Work has happened across Wales to make sure that we've got safeguarding standards which set out for each role within the council and indeed partner agencies what level of safeguarding training individuals need to have undertaken pertinent to their role. We monitor compliance with that through our Corporate Safeguarding Board, and we've got a Corporate Safeguarding Dashboard, which we also bring on a regular basis into the Cabinet Corporate Management Board meeting as well. We're not at 100%. I think it would be very difficult ever to achieve 100% because we do have staff who are in their induction process. We also have staff who will be off on maternity leave, off on sick leave for a period of time. But we endeavour and we monitor very closely at a directorate and a team level to get as close to 100% as we can.
Okay, thank you, Claire, for that. Councillor Evans, you okay with that?
Yeah, thank you, Claire.
Okay, right, well, it's been moved and seconded. If there's no further questions, we're all happy with that report? Approve? Thank you. Okay, we'll now move to item 5. Scrutiny recommendations from Community Environment and Housing overview and scrutiny. And we have Councillor Blundell here as the chair of that scrutiny today, I think. Councillor Blundell, are you going to introduce?
Thank you, Leader. For the purposes of the recording, I am Councillor John Paul Blundell, the chair of the Communities Environment and Housing Overview and Scrutiny Committee. Thank you for inviting me today to present the recommendation from following the committee's consideration of the Community Asset Transfer Report. Members referred previously proposed increases in charges for the use of pitches and sports facilities and expressed concern regarding the impact of such increased charges would have on community groups and residents for facilities where individuals or organisations do not have capacity to undertake a community asset transfer or a CAT. Following detailed consideration and discussions with the Cabinet member and senior officers, the committee discussed the previously proposed significant increase in charges for the use of council-owned pitches and sporting facilities and recommended that Cabinet consider whether the policy is still accurate and fit for purpose in the current financial climate, and that the deep dive group for the Communities Directorate explore the charging policy. We did so yesterday. Finally, please may I refer you to paragraph 9 of the report, where Cabinet is requested to consider and respond to the recommendation of the Communities Environment and Housing Overview and Scrutiny Committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Blundell. Any comments? Councillor Paul Davies is trying to... Okay, Councillor Davies.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Blundell. I'd like to thank the committee for their work on this. I will refer you backward to the comments I made yesterday in the deep dive, where we're still looking at this because we believe that, as I said yesterday in the meeting, which you chaired, obviously, we need to look at this because there's an equity problem here now with the costs currently that people who have taken on CATs are experiencing needs to be reflected in people who haven't. And there was a 500% figure bandied around several years ago. And I think this is what's referring to in what you looked at in the report. That we need to have a good look at that because that does sound incredibly high. But we do need to get to an equitable position where the people who are not haven't had a CAT need to pay their fair share to be equitable with the people who have. And that's what we're doing currently, and we will come back to you with a report on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. No.
I move the report too, Chair. Thank you.
Happy to second, Chair.
Thank you. I just want to say as well, I suppose I recognise the concerns of scrutiny about the current policy. Perhaps it's doing a lot of good work and has done a lot of good work at the community asset transfers, but it does need a review of going forward, how best we sort of modify it for the future and look again at the figures. I would like to stress there's never been a 500% increase to any single club in the county borough. It was a figure that was unreported, but it was not based on fact, and nothing has happened in that respect. But we do need to look at perhaps those clubs that either are not able to do a CAT transfer because of there may be some covenants or things where it prevents them taking place, and come up with a fair way of dealing with those clubs that can't. But we still need to find where there's clubs and community councils that want to take on CATs. So it's an ideal time to review the policy, make sure we get it sort of in line with where we are now from where we were when it first started, and come up with a sensible way forward. I'm not sure. I know the recommendation asked us to consider recommendations. Well, Cabinet asked to consider the recommendations of the Scrutiny Committee. I, rightly or wrongly, thought the Scrutiny Committee might take it away into a deep dive project on that topic. I'm not sure what came out of yesterday's scrutiny, if that's going to happen, or whether it was done yesterday as part of the scrutiny meeting. But I'm not sure it's something that can be done as part of the scrutiny meeting, because there's a lot of work behind it. It needs a bit of a task and finish job on it, basically. And it'd be ideal if that's something perhaps it's almost like a pre-decision scrutiny that scrutiny could help with for us to review the policy going forward. Janine, I can see you getting there. Over to you.
Yes, thank you, Leader. For the purposes of the recording, I'm Janine Nightingale, the Corporate Director of Communities. Yes, we did discuss the CAT piece yesterday in our deep dive budget session, and what we have committed to do, Leader, is you're right, is to go away, have a look at those scrutiny recommendations, review that policy in conversation with yourselves, and then we could come to a pre-scrutiny decision and a cabinet decision. The CAT process has been really successful over the last 5 years, a lot of investment we've had as a result of it. But I think it's time to review where we are in that process. Happy to do that with the officers in consultation with yourselves, and then reflect the recommendations from the Scrutiny Committee. Thanks, Leader.
Okay, that makes sense. There's something we take away. And it's been moved and seconded. So I'd like to thank again the Scrutiny Committee. I think it was back in July when it took place, and it's something that will, in due course, come back. And there may be an opportunity for that to go back to scrutiny with a draft report to have that pre-decision discussion before we make a final decision on the way forward with the policy. Okay, so that's been moved and seconded. You all okay with that? Yes. All right. Thank you. Item 6 next, the panel performance assessment. I'll just start off on that. Try my best not to use paper and stick to the online. Yeah, so I mean, this is went back 6 months ago. Self as leader, we were considering well the timing. We had dates given, and this was just taking place in September. And I welcome the actual panel performance assessment that we did take part in. It's ideal timing now, looking back. It's part of the new local government performance regime in Wales. Set up the Local Government Act 2021, so every authority across Wales has to do it. That was done in September. We've had the feedback. Now this report also goes to Council tomorrow, so there's a chance to have more of a discussion tomorrow. But there are 3 statutory areas within there that the Cabinet and Corporate Management Board agreed and asked the peers to consider, help us with going forward, which was developing and implementing a transformation plan, addressing our workforce challenges, and improving engagement. And the headline findings that we've received back from the VPA were hugely positive and encouraging. And some of the things they've said is that Bridgend is a good council with untapped potential. We have political and managerial leadership that's ambitious for Bridgend. Our workforce is enthusiastic, committed, and cares deeply about the council and the communities it serves. And we have high levels of self-awareness. And finally, that we are ready for change and positive about the future. And they made it clear as part of the report that we are at the crossroads. We have an opportunity now to change and to slightly change the direction of the council and to be more responsive and reactive and to serve the public. But we're at that crossroads, but we haven't got a lot of time to make the change. We have to be pretty quick to be fit for the future and take this council forward But what it does say overall is that we are a good council. We have got some good systems in place. We can do better at some things. We've got a massive, all the staff here are keen, ready to go ahead, take us forward. And we've got a new chief exec who's come along just the right time for this panel performance assessment. I don't know if the chief exec wants to say a few words today as well. But tomorrow is the opportunity where we can have that discussion with the whole council. And so, firstly, I'd like to move this report to tomorrow's full council meeting, and just hand over to Jake to mind a few words.
Yeah, I'm not going to labour the point because I'm hoping there'll be a decent discussion on it tomorrow in full council. There's just draw people's attention if people are watching. There's 8 recommendations there, and I think there's one of the things that was striking about it, and I spent time with the wider management team with 30 or 40 managers today. I'm going through it, and there's a widespread consensus that in terms of looking forward, we're starting from a strong base of some core services, good governance and financially stable, and that gives us a platform to look forward about how we meet future challenges. I think the report's fairly clear, and in the assessment, staying the same or keep doing the same thing is not really an option. And the point that I'd highlight was they're recommending moving at pace on a lot of these areas. So developing a plan and move at pace. And what, in relation to the recommendations, what pace will look like is we'll certainly for November council have some specific proposals for council to consider then, but also an action plan about how we take the full range of things offer. And I think there's a good consensus in the corporate management team and in cabinet that, and indeed with opposition groups when I've talked to many of these areas, that actually this provides a really good framework going forward about what we want to achieve, and that base that we can jump forward on to meet those big sustainability, big service challenges we know we've got coming down the track. So I hope cabinet today will endorse the report, but also that we'll have a fruitful discussion tomorrow in cabinet, given the number of people who've been engaged in it.
Thank you for that. And Councillor Williams?
Yeah, thank you, Leader. And I recognise there will be a wider debate on this tomorrow, but just at this point, I think I would like to thank everyone that took part in this process, because it's quite a scary thing really to open your doors and invite people in and invite them to tell us what you think of us, and that you can. I think the outcome was very good, and I'm very pleased with the outcome, but it's still a scary process to go through. So I'd like to thank everyone that took part in that process. Thank you, Leader.
Yeah, I endorse that, and a particular thanks to Alex and her team, small team, a mixture of officers who guided over that week the peer panel assessment. The people there, they were well organised because there was slots every hour and there's lots going on, and they've made sure they've recognised that in the report as well by thanking the team. So I'd like to add to that as well. I would like to just read the paragraph and the overall conclusions. The paragraph there which speaks volumes about where we are and where we need to go. It says the council has already demonstrated its capability with impressive turnarounds in key areas, particularly children's services, and is well positioned to build on this success for the benefit of the wider council. The assessment findings show that Bridgend is ready and ambitious for change and has a positive outlook on its future. And that's where we need to focus on some of the real positives that are here now and where we go in the future. And then I'll come to Councillor Paul Davis.
Yes, thanks, Chair. I just echo the comments that's been made so far, Chair, and thank Alex and the team for their sterling work. It is a scary process when someone comes to look. I don't think this has been seconded, Chair, so I'll take our opportunity to do that now. Second the report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that, and I hope this is going to Council tomorrow. We're going to have a further discussion and talk about the positives for the future that lies ahead for Bridgend and where we need to go as part of a change process as well. And it's good for our communities to see where we're heading and what we need to do. So it's been moved and seconded. Happy to approve the recommendation, and we'll have further discussion on this tomorrow at Council. Okay, thank you. falling on quite nicely, which is, we've just looked forward. We're now looking back with a self-assessment. I'm not sure which is the right way around, to be honest. But this is our self-assessment 2024-25. And so we have Alex and Kate here with us. But Councillor Williams is going to start off the report, introduce the report, and then we'll see where we go. Okay, Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Leader. I'm happy to present this report this afternoon. The report before you covers the period from April 2024 to March 25. So as you said, it's a looking back report and how did we do over that time. This is the fourth time we've produced a report like this, so we should be familiar to the authority by now. We started this process in 22. The three main areas that the report looks at are service delivery and performance, use of resources, and governance and decision making. The self-assessment process starts off by assessing or taking the views from heads of service, corporate management board, and then it comes to the cabinet and corporate management board. It then goes on to the governance and audit committee, and it's also had an hearing at a corporate overview scrutiny committee. It's also been presented to the trade unions and the town and council community forum. So as you can see, that this report has certainly done the rounds and has taken soundings from a wide cross-section of the authority. Different to this, in this report is a section on social partnership activity. The report covers 7 wellbeing objections. We have assessed as 5 being good and 2 being adequate. And a few of them showing very strong performance, and I'll just outline 1 or 2 of the examples of that. A recent CIW report have identified significant improvement in children's services. Our financial assistance service have reported 96% of applicants have increased their financial position. I'm pleased to announce that we have successfully opened the MyStake Town Hall. That's been completed. It's a flagship project of the authority, and that has certainly been well received. We've got 3 beaches in the county borough that can boast a blue flag. That's Rest Bay, Treco Bay, and Porthcawl Marina. Coitchurch Crematorium and MyStake Welfare Park have also been awarded a green flag status, which is quite prestigious. And I'm pleased to announce that for this year, we were the best in Wales for recycling, with a recycling rate of 73%. I'd like to take you now to the officer's my recommendation, I suppose, in section 9 of the report. Thank you, Leader.
You move that then. So you're moving that, yeah.
Recommended the Cabinet consider and endorse the draft self-assessment 24-25 report, Appendix 1, supported by performance information in Appendix 2, and submit to Council for approval.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. Thank you for that. I'd just like to highlight some of the points as well, because there's lots of information in the report, but it goes, and it is looking back, okay, it's our performance from last year, and the wellbeing objectives, because we have 7 then, we are moving out to 4 wellbeing objectives. But on the 7 on this report, we have wellbeing objective 1, where, I'll just pick up 1 or 2 things, that there were 83 individual historic cases for disabled facilities grants in 2023. Sorry, there's 83, come down from 268. So there's 1 example there on wellbeing objective 1, where we are progressing with the disabled facilities grants. Objective 2, we now identified 7 real living wage employers in 24-25, which were awarded contracts, taking a total of 257 real living wage employers. Objective 3, a commercial property enhancement grant paid out 268,000 against 7 properties to enhance and consolidate the high street and commercial areas across the valley areas, supported by the SPF money. Objective 4 on schools. We've got Ysgol Brogo, Helensbridge, Mynydd Cymfig, Bridgend West schemes. Well over £100 million being invested into education down schools, school modernisation programme. Objective 5, work has begun on the development of a fleet transition strategy review. Objective 6, community navigators based in Barvo, supported by the Region Integrated Fund investment. And Barvo is sustaining a range of community-based networks as part of a prevention and well-being within communities. On Objective 7, over £13 million allocated through Social Housing Grant and Transitional Capital Programme Grant to develop 108 houses. So just one little piece in each of those objectives, some of the great work that's going on. And there's lots of information in the report. There's some work we need to do a bit better and improve on things, but overall, it's quite clear in the report we are in the right direction. But as I said in the beginning, this is our performance from last year. We've had the report before on the panel assessment, and we're now going to go even better and further in the future. Anybody second that report? Any further comments? Second, Councillor Farr. Okay, all okay with that? All happy with that? And that again goes to Council for further discussion tomorrow. I'm sure we'll have more chance to debate that tomorrow as well. Right, thank you. And again, thanks to Alex and the team for putting that comprehensive report together. We'll now move to item 8, the Bridgend Town Centre access. Councillor Farr, Cabinet Member, to take this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. The purpose of this report is the same as it was before, to update Cabinet on the Bridgend Town Centre access project and to seek approval for 18-month experimental traffic regulation order. Following the Cabinet's earlier decision on 23rd of September and the subsequent call-in by the Scrutiny Committee, this updated report addresses the concern raised at that meeting on the 3rd of October 2025. It also includes extra background information for Cabinet to consider. We have listened carefully to both the consultation feedback and the question raised during the call-in. We understand the direction being asked of us, and while it may not go as far as we wish, our focus remains on delivering work that is safe, practical and compliant. The current report offers a lot more flexibility and has been strengthened in response to the scrutiny question and now includes 2 additional recommendations. 9.6 states access and new parking for blue badge holders along Queen Street, Dunraving Place and Market Street along the side of the ETR. 9.7 will explore progress further to consider enabling further vehicles access along Queen Street, Dunraving Place and Market Street. Leader, can I take you to the recommendation on page 178, 179? As I stated, there's been 2 further recommendations added since the last report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Farr. I noticed Councillor Blundell was hand up. Now, I'm assuming as Chair of Scrutiny, I was going to advise from I can't see any reason why you can't ask a question, McKelly, because it's not a joint report from Scrutiny, but it is the feedback from Scrutiny, or the report from the feedback from Scrutiny.
Councillor Blundell can give feedback and he can add to the feedback from Scrutiny, but he can't ask a question of Cabinet.
Thank you for that, Kelly. Councillor Blundell, over to you.
And good thing is I wasn't going to ask a question anyway. I was going to give feedback from the committee. Thank you, Leader, and thank you, Councillor Farr, for presenting the report. I just wanted to take Cabinet to 3.7 on page 176 of your packs, where it outlines the recommendations from the call-in following the extraordinary meeting of the Communities, Environment, Housing, Overview and Scrutiny Committee, where this matter was discussed, as well as these recommendations and the call-in itself, which we added as extra information. Members of the committee have asked me to highlight the fact that in the call-in it references the consultation, where there was overwhelming support for the reintroduction of traffic through Bridgend Town Centre. I ask that this is also used in your deliberations when discussing the change in traffic through our town. Thank you.
Okay, Thank you, Councillor Blundell. Yeah, Councillor Farr.
Thank you, Councillor Blundell. I think if you look at the current report on page 179, 9.7 addresses that issue.
Jean. Okay, Jean, if you can.
Yes, thank you, Leader. And just to supplement what the Cabinet member has said, really, we have discussed and considered the call-in recommendations made by the Scrutiny Committee. And I think really what we should be saying at this point is this is just the first step in improving access to the town centre. It is not the final outcome that we are seeking. It's just the first part of it. Now, the situation that Bridgend Town Centre finds itself in 2025 is very different from evidence from other studies, including that one back in 2016. The town centre has changed considerably since the pandemic, as has the market conditions. So this experimental traffic order will give us an opportunity to comprehensively assess the evidence before us, before making any decisions about access in the future. But there is one further recommendation that we could make today, Leader, if you thought it was appropriate, and that's about allowing taxis into the town centre, because that is something that we have been asked about previously, whether we would allow those as part of the ETRO. And that is something, if you were minded to today, and as the Cabinet member, I think would probably endorse this, that we'd have to do an appropriate safety audit and others, but we could include that as another recommendation as part of the ETRO. So I'll stop there, Leader. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean. And that makes sense to me, because it'll improve access to people who perhaps were unable to get there otherwise, who rely on taxis. I think the one bit, referring back to Councillor Blundell's feedback, and it's valid feedback in some ways, because there is a piece missing in the report. It's the 56% of people in the study that supported reintroducing traffic, and that is not acknowledged in the report. But in the study that was done, it was clearly 56% said they were support reintroducing traffic. So maybe, I'm not sure if that's what's been referred to, but that isn't referred to in the report, and that does need to be corrected, because that was part of the study. There was an additional question that was put in the survey. The Bridgend Town Centre members requested that, we agreed to that to go in, and the response to that question was 56% in support. So we do need to make sure we acknowledge that to have a fully accurate report before us today. Right, we have a couple of speakers. Councillor Paul Davis.
Yes, thanks, Chair. I'd like to second the report firstly, Chair. As Cabinet member, my role in this is the traffic orders side of things, and obviously this is a big part of this report, although Councillor Farr has presented it today. I spoke at the call-in. My thoughts haven't changed. This is a survey of what would happen in the town if we did these moves, which I'm happy to see through. And when we get the evidence in, I'm happy to go with the recommendations that come back from those surveys. So I'm happy to obviously move your Chair that we allow the taxis to have access. I can move that as an amendment if you want, which has been recommended here. Yeah, so I would suggest that we move this report, and we do all the recommendations in it and see what comes back. And as long as it's safe, legal, and it's right for the people of Bridgend, the pedestrians and motorists alike, I'm happy to go with it. But until we got the evidence, I'm totally open-minded on the whole topic, Chair. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Councillor Davis. And Councillor Farr, are you happy with that additional amendment?
Leader, I had that written down already to say at the end. Yes, thank you.
Okay. Janine?
Yes, if I may, just to respond to exactly what both Councillor Farr and Councillor Davis has said, monitoring and evaluation during this ETRO is essential. We'll have a robust regime for this. This will include updated safety audits during the 18 months, regular traffic surveys covering all modes of travel, and the collection of data from a range of sources, such as the Council's town centre footfall system, official personal injury collision records, police incident records, positive support for events, and also from stakeholder feedback. We are determined to get the correct evidence for this, and this process will ensure that the trial is assessed comprehensively, not only against safety outcomes, but also in terms of accessibility, user experience, the economy, and the wider town centre environment, because public and trader feedback will form a key part of this assessment, and the findings will be reported back to Cabinet, and subject to your approval and no adverse effects, the order will remain in situ, or we could go further and allow further access into the town centre. So I think it's important this is the start of it, we'll monitor it and review, and if it is safe to do so, we can go further in the future. So I'll stop there. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you for that, Jean. Very positive. We have Deputy Leader next.
Thank you very much. It's just a query, really. According to this, we're delegating authority to the Corporate Director Communities for all manner of things, which is quite right and proper, Janine, before you think otherwise. But the 9.3, oh God, I can't even say it. Experimentate. Oh, ETRO, yeah. You are going to modify, suspend or revoke the order if required during the experimental period. I would like to ask that if we're delegating authority to the Corporate Director Communities, that is included in a discussion with the Cabinet member, please, rather than just authority going to officers. Thanks very much. Can I propose that amendment, please, Chair?
Right, that was proposed and seconded by Councillor. I think that was raised in the original Cabinet meeting as well, that I think the normal process is delegate authority in consultation with the relevant Cabinet member. Jake?
Just for clarity then, what that will read is it will be delegated authority to the Director for Communities in consultation with the Cabinet member. Yeah.
Am I happy with that? Thank you very much, Chief.
Yeah, I think that's the normal sort of process. And just to clarify, the Cabinet member, the appropriate one is, because traffic audit is Councillor Davis, because there's regeneration and traffic, highway traffic orders all get a bit confused. Yeah.
Yes, I'm content with that, Leader. Just to clarify, though, it is only myself as the Corporate Director who can sign off the TRO, because I'm the Director of the Highway Authority. But absolutely, I'm happy to do that in consultation with my Cabinet member. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great, thanks. I'm trying to find, there's paragraph 3.8, it also says, well, there's intention to do initial impact assessment after 6 months. So even though it's 18 months, there'll be a continual sort of assessing what's going on, monitoring, and we'll have the impact assessment after 6 months. So hopefully the public out there can see that we are listening to what's been said and seeing how best we can sort of modify things going forward. Jake?
It's probably just worth noting, just for clarity, I know people are aware of it because it's in the report, but we're also going to do a review of the barrier operation, the sustainability of that. We've had significant challenges, as people know. I think there's some indications it's probably coming to end of life as a system. So we're going to do some costings and we're going to review the sustainability or desirability of that. At the same, it doesn't affect the traffic order. It's literally it's a physical barrier, which, you know, some people do with signage around the order, and other, you know, it's possible to have barrier up. So we're going to do that review in parallel with that, and you know, we'll have, you know, if there's changes to that, I'm sure there'll be further papers.
Okay, thank you, Jake. And that's the hydraulic bollard that goes up and down, which is whether the bollard's there or not, the traffic order is still in place on it. So it's okay, right. That's been seconded with an additional, well, 2 amendments. One addition to adjust for taxis, and then one to in consultation with the Cabinet member before anything's signed off by the Director. Right, you all in favour? All happy with that? And I'd like to thank the Scrutiny Committee. I mean, they called it in. They had some valid points. We've addressed them, assessed them, and there's been some adjustments made. And again, let's just stress, it's an experimental order for 18 months for us to have a look at what can be done, what's possible, and how best we sort of modify things going forward. So I think that hopefully is in line with the wishes of the people out there and the traders in the town centre. So it's been moved and seconded. We're all okay with that. So yep. Thank you. That's approved. And then we move on to item, Councillor Farr?
Yeah, I've just realised, Leader, that I need to declare an interest in that report because my husband's a taxi driver.
Yes, okay, Kelly's saying that's a personal interest, and I need to declare saying that my brother's a taxi driver. Right, so a personal interest, because we both have relatives as taxi drivers.
Just for clarity, I was just going to suggest
Kelly,
put that on the record.
Just to confirm, in the circumstances, it will be a personal interest, not a prejudicial interest.
I don't know if it's relevant, Chair, but I've held a taxi licence for about 20 years. I don't use it. I'm thinking about it now. Yeah. I don't use it for about 10 years. But no, it hasn't expired. No, it's live.
Councillor Davis, okay, thank you very much for your taxi driver licence and your technical. But you're not actively driving as a taxi driver now, so.
I've got no gainful employment as a taxi driver, Chair. I've got nothing to gain or lose by you.
And you've no intention tomorrow to send he's a taxi driver? Right.
No.
Thank you. Right, we have finished that report now. Thank you. Now we move on to item 9, which is the reinstatement of the bus service from Odlum, Kenfig Pool. Councillor Farr.
Thank you, Chair. Can I say I'm absolutely delighted to bring this report to the Cabinet today. It's been lots of hard work behind the scene. And before I actually present the report, I want to thank the officers who's done all the work behind the scene, and I want to name especially Kevin Sale. Without him, this wouldn't have happened. So a big thank you to Kevin. Okay, so this report asks Cabinet to approve changes to the current bus contract so that the old Modlum Kenfig Pool service can be brought back. Local councillors have been asking for it since it stopped in 2019, when funding cuts were made it impossible to keep it going. Requests for the reinstatement have been made by the Connelly Ward members who have long expressed concerns over the loss of the vital connection since 2019. The proposal is to modify the existing services 63 Bridgend to Porthcawl route already run by the First Cymru Buses Limited under a Welsh Government grant so that one bus per hour diverts through Magdalen and Kenfig Pool from Monday to Saturday. The cost to add this section is £64,566 per year. Extra funding has already been approved by the South East Wales region under the Bus Network grant, so the Council will not face any extra cost. The contract change meets the legal and the procurement rules because it adds a small section to an existing services. The same operator will run it for efficiency and integration, and the cost stays well below the 50%. In short, the Council can lawfully and affordably bring back a much-needed bus link for the Magdalen and Kenfig Pool communities with Welsh Government funding in place until 2029. The Cabinet approval will allow the Council and the First Cymru to set a start date and give the required 56 days public notice. So can I take the Cabinet to the recommendation on page 387? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Farr. Councillor Caparros.
Thank you, Leader. I think this is obviously going to be really welcomed by local residents, and it's great to see our administration again making improvements for residents without any additional cost to the council. So really welcome this improvement of many improvements that are being made. One thing you have described for us, Nilo, is why the original discontinuation came about, but could you give us any assurances or explain what mitigation will be in place that will avoid that discontinuation repeating in future?
Thank you for your question. There are plans by 2029 Wales will move to a franchise bus system where Transport for Wales and local authorities plan routes, fare timetable under the principle of one network, one timetable, one ticket. This replaces the current deregulation model and aims to deliver more reliable, integrated service for all communities.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Farr. It's also worth noting, I suppose, that it's an improved service for Maudlem Country Pool, but also for Nottage area, because my understanding the bus will also go to Bethcall, so the people in Nottage will have an additional service. So this is a new additional service at nil cost to this authority. So again, I'd like to thank the officers concerned for the work done there, and it's great to see this has been asked for by the local ward members in that area for quite a long time, and we finally got there with this one. And it's one of many improvements we hopefully see to public bus services in the years ahead. So, was that moved and seconded? It was Councillor Davies to second it? Councillor Caparros. So it's been moved and seconded. All in favour of the recommendations at paragraph 9.1? Yeah. Okay, there. Great, so that's approved. Thank you for that. Right, we now move on to item 10, the budget monitoring for 25-26 quarter 2 revenue forecast. Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Leader. I am presenting to Cabinet today an update on the Council's revenue financial position as at the 30th of September 2025. The approved revenue budget for this financial year is £383,226,000. Table 1 of this afternoon's report outlines the projected net underspend of £5.9 million. Whilst this is welcomed and an improved position from that reported at quarter 1, it is predominantly due to the receipt of a number of grants from Welsh Government during quarter 2. And whilst we very much welcome these extra grants, there's still pressures on the base budgets across directorates. The financial pressures, particularly in Social Services and Wellbeing Directorate and the Chief Executive Directorate. And you see that the Directorate budgets are predicting a £453,000 overspend. There are many details in the report before you this afternoon, and the financial summary is provided at Appendix 3 and details the report starting at Section 3.3. If I may, Leader, I'll take you to Section 9 of the report and the recommendation. The Cabinet note the projected year-end revenue position for 25-26. I know this is going to Corporate Overview Scrutiny Committee on Thursday, where I'm sure there'll be a healthy debate on the outturn. Thank you.
Good, Councillor Williams, and it's also going to full council tomorrow for because we were asked to note, because it's a factual position, we were asked to note the position, the outturn projection for 25-26. I'm sure there'll be further discussion tomorrow as well, perhaps at council. But Councillor Caparros.
Thank you, Leader. Happy to second the report. I won't go into all the different figures and things, as you've advised us. There's better places we can do that. But the one thing I will just ask is we had £8.3 million worth of savings lined up this year. The report highlights there may be a 10% shortfall on that. Are we now confident with the figures taken into account the shortfall that this is the projection is looking pretty solid?
Thank you for that question, Councillor Caparros. And whilst the outturn is looking favourable, the pressure still remains on base budgets. And as we know, when we come to set a balanced budget, we have to set a balanced base budget, which doesn't always take account of potential in-year grants. They're very difficult to predict and quite volatile. And we need to be able to set a budget on known income at the time. So I'm sure that it'll help us end the year on a positive note, but in setting a budget going forward, we still need some certainty in what finances are available to us. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Carlos, I'm conscious is a complex report, and it's an important report, and it's positive news where we're heading, but is there anything you'd like to add, or any warnings you'd like to? Yes, I can almost feel you. There's clear warnings in there. It's projecting an underspend, but it's not as simple as that, is it?
Thank you, Leader. Just for the sake of the recording, I'm Caris Lord. I'm the Chief Officer for Finance, Housing and Change. I think, to be fair, Councillor Williams has covered what I would have said. I think there are a couple of assumptions that we have in there around council tax collection, for instance, which we've said in the report that we will continue to monitor carefully. And as Councillor Williams has said, a large part of this swing is because we've had grants in year. We still have a shortfall, as you mentioned, Councillor Caparis, against our budget reductions which were planned into this year's account. And all our chief officers have been asked to try and look at pulling back that £850,000 that we're short of for this year, because it helps us with our planning for next year. I think to give you confidence, I think that we will have an underspend at the end of this financial year. I'll caveat that just in case something happens in the last 6 months of the year. But I think the projection that we've got there is accurate for this year. But as Councillor Williams says, we can't assume that level of underspend going forward.
Thank you, Caris, for that. Thanks very much. So it's been moved and seconded that we note the projected revenue position for 25-26 for Q2. And further discussion, Council tomorrow. All happy with that? Approve that? Yep, thank you. Right. Item 11, Empty Home Strategy 2025-2030. It's back, and Councillor Paul Davis declared a prejudicial interest, who's leaving the chamber. And then we'll move to Councillor Farr to take his report. Over to you.
Thank you, Chair. And can I welcome two officers from the SRS as well who will be contributing towards this report and answering some questions. So the report that I'm moving is asking the Cabinet to approve the new Empty Homes Strategy 25-23, which sets out how we will continue tackling long-term empty properties across Bridgend and bring them back into use. The strategy has been developed following last year's public consultation, shaped by feedback from residents, landlords and property owners. It builds on the solid progress made under the 2019 to 2023 plan and focuses on early engagement, financial support and stronger enforcement where needed. Our aim is clear: to make the best use of existing housing, support regeneration, reduce homelessness and strengthen our local communities. It also contributes to our climate goal by reusing existing buildings and improving energy efficiency rather than building new. Over recent years, we've seen a steady progress. 45 homes were brought back into use during 2021 and 2022. 81 homes in 2022 to 2023 and 70 homes in 23 to 24. So far this year, we've brought 36 units back in use. This year figure is lower because we spent a lot of time in progressing major compulsory purchase order and securing Welsh Government funding to expand our enforcement capacity. In 2024 to 2025 alone, officers have managed almost 300 service requests, completed over 300 site visits, issued 16 enforcement notices and undertaken 3 prosecutions, while continuing to support grants and regeneration projects through the borough. So in summary, Chair, this new 5-year strategy strengthens what's already working, partnership across services, early intervention and a clear focus on bringing more homes back into use to meet housing needs and support our wider regeneration objectives. Chair, can I take the Cabinet members to the recommendation on page 443? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Farr. Councillor Melanie Evans.
Thank you, Councillor Farr. I'm happy to move the report. And have you moved the report? I'm happy to second the report then. Thank you. Okay, I do have a question though. I note that the strategy is for empty homes. However, does this strategy apply to commercial property that may be converted for living space, or that there is living space above the commercial property? And also, does the town centre manager play a role in monitoring of such commercial properties, please?
Who's
I'll answer the first part and I'll send the second one over to maybe Caris, not Janine. Caris, I think it is. Town centre manager, yeah, because that's kind of operational. So I'll do the first part. So straight no, this strategy does not cover commercial units, but if there is residential units on the top, then what you would do, you would work very closely with the regen team, because there is a different fund that you can use to regen commercial property. So it would be the two teams working together. So in essence, fit to your question, not to commercial, but if residential, yes.
Thank you, Christopher. Caris, any more to?
I think the only thing I would add is in relation to your question about flats above the premises. If there's an empty flat above a commercial property, it would be classified as domestic and would therefore come under the council tax regime. If, however, sometimes businesses do use spaces above their commercial properties, and if they're obviously being used by that commercial property, they would be included then within the business rates that they pay.
Okay, right, so it depends on the current use of that space. Janine?
Yes, many thanks, Leader. So I'll come in on the town centre part of your question. Councillor Evans, we've got town centre manager who manages the three main town centres in the borough and Pencoed as well. He is aware of sometimes there are changes and he will notify us. Really, it's a planning enforcement piece that this would fall under, because it's, as Caris has explained, this is about use class. If you have a commercial property that has transferred to residential or the other way around, you have to apply for planning permission to change. So it would be a planning enforcement condition if you were using it for a use that wasn't already permitted. And then, yeah, we could look to investigate. And of course, then, subject to whether it was a commercial property or a residential, we could either charge this premium or a business rate piece. But it's so, yes, we do have eyes on the ground with our town centre manager, albeit that's not his main role. His main role is about encouraging the economic growth, but it would really be a planning enforcement piece. Thank you.
I'd like to invite, I forgot your name, sorry, just to give us a bit more information on the strategy, if that's okay, Leader.
Perhaps if you could introduce yourself, part of the start. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, hello everybody. So my name's Kelly Pardon. I'm a housing policy officer then in Shared Regulatory Services. So I cover Bridgend, Vale of Glamorgan and Cardiff. So over the last year, we've been working hard to really create a strategy that reflects the needs and the wants of the public. And that can be really shown, I think, with the way that we consulted with them then. So the idea is that we adopted a bottom-up approach, and we've worked together as part of our working group, the Empty Homes Working Group, to create realistic and achievable aims to work towards over the next 5 years to really hope and improve in what we're doing then and the way we're working with people.
Okay, thank you for that. I just on the policy, the way the policy is laid out itself, I think it's quite nice, easy read. I say it's I find it easy and to understand that just looking at it, it's reader friendly then. It's not just pages of text. It's quite useful the way it's laid out.
So that was one of the things that I'm really glad that you've picked up on that. That's one of the things that we're really trying to convey within this strategy. A lot of the feedback that we received from respondents was they needed more support, and they wanted to basically it to be an easier service to use. So that's what we're really trying to convey through this strategy then.
Okay, thank you. And it's quite clear within the strategy, there's a carrot and stick. There's that stick there of the council tax premiums go to 300%, which I think that starts next year. Is it, Carly? So it starts from April next year. So there's no reason really, unless somebody wants to sort of spend 300% on the council tax, to leave a property empty, because there's opportunities and there's encouragement within it and help, financial help, to work to go towards getting a property rented out there. There's no reason to have empty properties. There's people need properties, so hopefully this will help those that perhaps didn't realise what's there to help them. And the more we can all spread the word, I suppose, about this policy, and get a few more empty properties back on the market and people using them as homes. So that's great to see. Any further comments? If not, we are asked to approve the strategy. It's been moved and seconded. Yes, it was, yeah. Moved and seconded. All okay with that? Approve that strategy? Aye. Yep. Okay, and thank you both from Shared Regulatory Services. We need to ask Councillor Paul Davis to rejoin us for the remainder of the agenda. Okay, right, Councillor Davis has rejoined us, and we're on to item 12, urgent items on the agenda. I've been notified of any urgent items, so we'll move to item 13, which is exclusion of the public. Are we all okay with excluding the public for the reasons given for the next report? All okay with that? Yep, okay. Can we, it's approved to exclude the public. Can we just check? I'm not sure if Nimi or Mike's on the system. Gives a confirmation that the